We have all the evidence we need against you. Just admit it. Admit it. Yeah, it doesn't look like you're gonna get out of this one. Your best chances, Thomas, are to just tell us the truth. Tell us what happened. Listen, I don't know what you're talking about. Welcome back, Mr. E Mob, also my Midnight Mafia, the people that stay up to midnight just to watch this. I want you to truly know I love you guys more than anything, and today I have a story for you that might get you a little upset, might have you feeling in your feels for a little bit, but I'm telling you, just stick it through for the reveal at the end, and you will see that life is just. Sometimes. But make sure to find the hidden clue and put what it is with the timestamp in the comments to get pinned and entered into the giveaway, which is coming up. Also, last week I said, what am I wearing on my feet? Well, I'm about to show that picture right now. So, if you were correct, then guess what? You got an extra entry into the giveaway. Should I do it again right now? Yes, of course I'm gonna do it. I prepared for it. And this time, I'm gonna trick you guys so bad. Here we go. Ready? Am I wearing slippers? Am I wearing barefoot? Am I wearing socks? Shoes? Any of the above? Well, I'm gonna take my phone right now. As you can see, it's live. Here we go. And I'm going to hit photo. This time, I'll like point my foot up so you know it's different. Ba-bang. Okay, done. So guess in the comments what it is to get another entry into the giveaway. Everybody wants it, just do it. But other than you giving this video a like, I don't have much more to talk about. So as of now, it's time to slip into a mind that's not our own. Let's go. An unthinkable horror descended upon a California man when he found himself caught in the dark web of a murder investigation. You see, it all started with trembling hands, picked up the phone and dialed the Fontana Police Department. He did this because he was hoping to find his missing father and bring him home safely. But literally what awaited him was a living nightmare. His world would be turned upside down by unfathomable accusations and damning evidence against him. This is the story of Thomas Perez Jr. Thomas Perez Jr. on the afternoon of August 8th, 2018, about 16 hours after his father had walked off for the mail and not returned. Well, at this point, Perez decided to call the Fontana Police Department and say, hey, my father is missing. Now, the officer who took the call actually later told her supervisor that the exchange made her kinda suspicious. She said that Perez seemed very distracted and not overly concerned for his father's welfare. I look at that and I say, okay, but he did call the police. But there we have now Thomas anxiously awaiting for the police to arrive, and his mind, of course, was racing with all these questions and fear and not knowing. You see, his father, Thomas Perez Sr., had always been a loving and responsible man. And Thomas Jr. was just pain-stricken with what might have happened to him. So the police finally decided to go to Perez's house to talk to him in person. And at least 3 officers eventually showed up, and one of them asked Perez if he would come down to the station to talk to detectives while other officers searched his house. And Perez didn't know it quite yet, but he was now a murder suspect. And instead of launching a search for the elder Perez, the police viciously turned their attention to the son. He was dragged into this interrogation room and subjected to relentless questioning, designed, of course, to break his spirit. And the hours stretched on in this never-ending nightmare as he was bombarded with these baseless accusations and twisted lies. But were they baseless? You see, despite never being formally arrested, Perez Jr. was confined and basically tortured for a very long time in the interrogation room. And I know that is heavy verbiage by me, but let me explain. You see, the investigators at this point were fueled with their own misguided beliefs, insisted that his father was actually already dead and that he was responsible for the murder. But this is where the rubber meets the road, because they actually claim to have discovered damning evidence and even used their police dog as a tool of intimidation, claiming that it had detected the scent of a dead body lingering in the air on the premises. An officer said that they had good reason to suspect Perez because the cadaver dog indicated the presence of human remains somewhere amongst the Perez house. Moreover, at this point, the police claimed that Perez had thrown out clothing belonging to his father, as well as these bedding and a shower curtain, not to mention that the house was in complete disarray and that they found these tiny little blood spots on the ground that were clumped together next to each other in the home. But Perez Jr. was caught off guard and devastated by these accusations thrown at him, and he denied any involvement in his father's supposed death. But like I said, as the hours just dragged on and the pressure continued to mount, his mind began to sort of unravel. And in a desperate attempt to cope with all this relentless questioning, he resorted to self-destructive behavior, tearing off of his shirt, pulling out his own hair, and even cutting himself. And guess what? They did not stop interrogating him all night long. And the next morning, they put him in a car while continuing to tell him that they believe he had killed his own father. And they drove him to these various different locations in Fontana where they claimed he might have actually committed the crime. And they brushed aside Perez's denials and his pleas for his medication that he took for anxiety and depression every day. I mean, at this point, Perez Jr. was begging for help, and his voice was actually hoarse and desperate as he pleaded for medical attention and his vital psychiatric medication. But the pleas fell on deaf ears as the police callously denied him both, disregarding the fact that he was sleep deprived, mentally disturbed, and in severe withdrawal from his necessary medication. And as the hours continued, Perez Jr. was pushed to the brink of insanity by this relentless interrogation. And in case you want to watch the whole interrogation, believe me, it's all over the internet. But back to the story, while all of this was happening, one detective even suggested, while under the influence of his medication, that's why he killed his beloved father. Quote, he said,
"That medication you're taking has caused you, Thomas, to have some issues. Where can you take us right now to show us where Daddy is? The medication, it took over, son, and we need to find Daddy right now."
And at this point, when Perez failed to lead them to his father's dead body, police took him back to the department, ignoring his request once again to be taken to a hospital because he felt ill. And from that point on, the interrogation just grew worse. I mean, the police thought they were doing their job and they were determined to get a confession, and their tactics, though, became increasingly cruel. I mean, this part really upset me, and if you love animals, it's gonna upset you too. They went as far as bringing in Perez Jr.'s beloved dog and then threatened to euthanize the animal, claiming that it had been so traumatized by witnessing the alleged murder. And the thought of losing his loyal companion already added another layer of torment to Perez Jr. at this time, when he was already in a conflicted state of mind. So after 17 grueling hours of unrelenting pressure, an exhausted and shattered Perez Jr. lay there, curled up on the cold floor next to his loyal dog. He was in a state of emotional torment. And at that point, he finally succumbed and confessed to the heinous crime about his father. With tears literally streaming down his face, he claimed to have brutally stabbed his father with a pair of scissors, right before smashing a beer bottle over his head in a fit of this uncontrollable rage he had. And at this point, the police were even more confident in their case, unaware of the unraveling that was about to unfold in the most unexpected way. You see, as Perez Jr. was left alone in his small, dimly lit room, he could feel the weight of the accusation crushing him like a vice. His thoughts spiraled into chaos and desperation until he could no longer bear it. And that's when he thought to himself, okay, this is it. So in this unnerving moment that we have reached, he decided it was time. to end his life by hanging himself with the drawstring on his shorts. The room started to echo with the sound of his gasping breaths as he struggled for air. Meanwhile, outside the station, Perez Jr.'s sister arrived with a determined look on her face and the truth about to be burning on her tongue. She made her way through the bustling corridors and into the main office where she delivered a shocking revelation to the police. Their father, Thomas Perez Sr., was not missing at all. In fact, he was alive and well, simply just spending time on the low with a female companion. But wait, things are about to get fatal. And by the way, if you are enjoying this story, or you simply just enjoy stories like this of the mysterious, true crime, or paranormal nature, please leave a like right now. It really helps this channel grow. And okay, that's all I got. Back to how the police felt at this moment. So the silence that followed her words was deafening as the police tried to make sense of this new information. How could they have been so wrong? The walls seemed to close in on them as they finally grappled with the implications that they made a mistake. And now that the officers finally knew the truth, they rushed back to where Thomas was and were going to let him go and tell him the good news. But right as they went in the room and opened the door, they saw that Thomas tried to unalive himself by the drawstrings on his shorts. Well, luckily, they got to him in time and were able to save his life. But to add insult to injury at this point for Thomas, he was put on an immediate 72-hour psychiatric hold. So he did not even know at this time that his sister had came in and that his father was still alive all of those hours. Not to mention, also, when he got out of the 72-hour psychiatric hold, he had to go track down his dog through its microchip at the Animal Control Center, because the police, of course, had taken custody of the animal during the interrogation. So what really happened, other than the father trying to get some alone time on the lowdown? Why did the police take this so far? Well, it turns out they let their minds take them directly to who they thought the criminal was without intense or accurate investigation at all. Because you remember the cadaver dog, right? And the blood on the floor and everything that was supposedly wrong with the house? Well, you see, the disarray in the family home and the minuscule blood stains on the ground were now revealed to be nothing more than innocent remnants of renovations that were currently going on and the father's necessary finger pricking tests for his diabetes. That's why a little bit of blood was on the floor. And when questioned, they actually said that the canine cadaver dog picked up the trace of a human being, and that's probably because it was found out that that dog was not actually an official police cadaver dog, and it belonged to a sheriff's department volunteer. Can you believe this? After 6 days from Perez's initial call to the police and 4 days after Papa Thomas was found, the police obtained yet another search warrant. This time, it was to install a GPS device on Perez's car. Yep, in court documents, an expert witness hired by Perez stated that the police had no explanation or no evidence at all for this sudden suspicion of a potential another homicide involving a third unknown party. It sounds crazy, but they were trying to get him in connection with another homicide now after just declaring that he was innocent. But this witness, Jeffrey Noble, had over 30 years of experience as a former deputy police chief and stated that no well-trained officer would have believed there was enough probable cause to obtain a search warrant under these circumstances. I know that's a lot to digest, but the case of Thomas Perez Jr. is a story that a lot of us have heard pieces of before. And that is police going after the wrong person. And even though that is the case in this, we must remember that the vast majority of the police officers are good people. They just want to get home to their families at the end of the night. But as that might be, the ones that go too far must be held accountable because they have people's lives in their hands almost every day. And I think good police officers would agree with this sentiment as well. But in the end, Thomas Perez Jr. rightfully took them to court, and the headlines read not only that he emerged as a survivor, but California man gets $900,000 settlement for psychological torture during 17-hour police interrogation. $900,000 is a lot of money, but was it worth what he had to go through? I'll let you decide in the comments below. And with Thomas, the scars of this ordeal will undoubtedly remain with him for the rest of his life. But his story is actually a cautionary tale, urging us to question the methods that those use in power and to demand accountability when the rights of the innocent are violated. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this and I hope you found the clue. And if you are still watching this right now, just know that I love you, and I love you twice as much if you hit the like button. Sorry, I have to say that because if nobody hits the like button, then this video doesn't get out to anyone. But I'll catch y'all later. Cheers.